How did China rise from being dismissed as a source of cheap, low-quality products to becoming one of the most influential powers shaping our world today? Today I'm going to tell you an important story. How did China transform from a country known for cheap, low-quality products just a decade ago into a technological powerhouse challenging the world's leading nations? How did this rising giant become a major force shaping global economics, politics, and military power? And what historic turning points, political choices, and massive projects brought China to where it stands today? Let's dive in together and uncover the answers behind China's extraordinary rise. Today, there is a global actor shaping power balances, transforming technological competition, and redefining the world economy: China. But to understand how China became what it is now, we must journey through the fall of an ancient empire, decades of political turmoil, sweeping economic reforms, and unprecedented technological and military transformations. In this documentary, we will explore, step by step, how China rose from the ashes of its past to become a modern economic, technological, and strategic superpower. At the dawn of the 20th century, the once mighty Chinese empire was collapsing under its own weight. The Opium Wars had crippled Qing authority. Foreign influence, economic decline, and internal rebellions shattered the empire's foundations. When the 1911 revolution overthrew the Qing dynasty, the newly formed Republic of China entered a fragmented era dominated by warlords, foreign incursions, and the brutal Japanese invasion. Ordinary people lived through extreme poverty, famine, and insecurity, struggling to survive amid constant political upheaval. The civil war between the nationalists and communists further deepened the chaos, until Mao Zedong declared the founding of the People's Republic of China in 1949. But the country he inherited was devastated. Poor, illiterate, agriculturally backward, and deeply divided. Mao's socialist project centered on heavy industry, collectivized farming, and ideological campaigns. The Great Leap Forward sought rapid industrialization, but resulted in catastrophic famine. The Cultural Revolution aimed for ideological purity, yet dismantled education, science, and governance. After Mao's death, Hua Guofeng briefly held power, yet the leader destined to transform China, Deng Xiaoping, was preparing to reshape the nation. As this foundational chapter closes, one truth becomes clear. China had to fall to its lowest point before it could begin its unprecedented rise. 1978 marked the beginning of a new era in Chinese history. When Deng Xiaoping assumed leadership, he declared that ideology alone would not rebuild China. Growth, pragmatism, and modernization would. His famous words, "It doesn't matter whether a cat is black or white as long as it catches mice," defined the new approach. China opened special economic zones, welcomed foreign investment, allowed farmers to profit from their output, and blended socialism with market dynamics. Small fishing towns like Shenzhen rapidly transformed into global megacities. During Jiang Zemin's leadership in the 1990s, China intensified industrialization, expanded export manufacturing, constructed massive infrastructure networks, and became the backbone of global supply chains. Entry into the World Trade Organization in 2001 fully integrated China into world markets, triggering explosive growth. Millions migrated from rural areas to factory cities, fueling an economic miracle. Under Hu Jintao, digitalization accelerated. The internet spread nationwide, and early Chinese tech giants, Huawei, Lenovo, ZTE, began emerging on the global stage. Relations with the United States were defined by a blend of cooperation and growing strategic tension. China provided labor and production capacity, the U.S. provided capital and advanced technology. Yet domestic inequality widened. Coastal megacities thrived, while rural regions continued to lag behind. Even so, this era laid the groundwork for China's transformation into a global power. China was no longer merely rising, It was preparing to leap, and a new leader was about to redefine the nation's trajectory. Xi Jinping's ascent to power in 2012 marked a turning point in modern Chinese history. When Xi took office, China was economically powerful, yet faced mounting internal challenges: corruption, environmental degradation, slowing growth, demographic shifts, and intensifying competition with the United States. Xi's first major move was launching the most extensive anti-corruption campaign in PRC history. Thousands of officials, generals, and business leaders were removed or prosecuted. This campaign restored public trust while significantly strengthening central authority. Xi reinforced ideological unity by re-emphasizing the Communist Party's dominance over media, education, culture, and digital platforms. New governance tools emerged, including social credit systems and advanced digital surveillance networks, reshaping how society functions. Urbanization accelerated. High-speed rail connected hundreds of cities, knitting China into an unprecedentedly integrated economic space. Meanwhile, Xi introduced the concept of the Chinese Dream, a unifying vision aimed at national rejuvenation, restoring China's historic status, increasing prosperity, and asserting global leadership. Xi's early years reshaped the state from within, tightening control and preparing China for profound structural change. China was no longer just seeking development. It was preparing to redefine global power. One of the defining pillars of Xi Jinping's leadership is China's sweeping technological and military transformation. In 2015, the Made in China 2025 initiative charted an ambitious roadmap for technological dominance. Massive state funding targeted semiconductors, artificial intelligence, quantum communication, robotics, biotechnology, green energy, and cybersecurity. Huawei rose to global leadership in 5G technology. BYD challenged Tesla in electric vehicles. CATL became the world's largest battery manufacturer. DJI became the dominant force in drone technology. China's space program reached historic milestones. It became the first country to land on the far side of the moon, built its own space station, and launched missions to Mars. Militarily, China undertook the fastest modernization in its history, developing hypersonic missiles, expanding its nuclear arsenal, building advanced aircraft carriers, and creating one of the world's largest cyber forces. The Chinese Navy grew to become the world's largest by number of vessels. These advances intensified rivalry with the United States, triggering semiconductor restrictions, tech sanctions, and strategic military deployments in the Pacific. Yet China's enormous domestic market allowed its technological ecosystem to flourish despite external pressures, serving as a vast testing ground for innovation. Under Xi, China evolved from a manufacturing giant into a technological powerhouse poised to shape the future of global innovation and security. Under Xi Jinping, China transformed from a rising economy into a global architect reshaping international order. In 2013, Xi launched the Belt and Road Initiative, one of the largest infrastructure projects in world history, linking Asia, Africa, Europe, and Latin America through ports, railways, energy networks, and industrial corridors. This strategy expanded China's economic reach and political influence across continents. Diplomatically, China strengthened ties with Russia, brokered reconciliation talks between Iran and Saudi Arabia, and positioned itself as a mediator in regions long dominated by Western powers. At the same time, regional tensions escalated. China intensified its claims in the South China Sea, confronted India in border disputes, and adopted a firmer posture toward Taiwan. During global conflicts, China often maintained a cautious stance, prioritizing economic interests and geopolitical stability over direct intervention. Economically, China's rise was powered by its massive consumer base, export dominance, technological innovation, and state-supported corporate ecosystem. In terms of soft power, China expanded its global communication network, funded film co-productions, established Confucius Institutes, and influenced global culture through platforms like TikTok. The result was a nation that not only manufactures and innovates, but also shapes narratives, diplomacy, and geopolitical strategy. By the end of Xi's decade-long transformation, China emerged as one of the most influential forces of the 21st century, an economic, technological, military, and political titan reshaping the world in real time. China's story is the story of a nation that fell, rebuilt itself, and rose with unprecedented determination. Every struggle, every reform, every technological leap shaped the powerful country we see today. And now, the world watches closely, not just how China has risen, but how its rise will reshape the century ahead. Because the story of the 21st century may very well be the story of China